Hello, my name is Arnie Herz, and welcome to Habits of a Whole Heart as part of the Humanity Matters series here at the Holocaust Memorial Tolerance Center in Glen Cove, New York. This is a podcast series of which there's over 30 different podcasts comprising well over 650 episodes. And this today will be my 52nd and 53rd episodes. Thank you for tuning in, and I am very, very pleased to have with me a dear friend for 4 decades, the famous actress and incredible human being, Phylicia Rashad, who's had a tremendous impact on my own life. And thank you so much for coming down here today to film these 2 episodes.
Thank you for inviting me, Arnie. Thank you very much.
This is so great. I mean, it was 1985 we met for the first time, I believe, in India.
Yes.
And then the relationship evolved over time.
Yep.
And do you remember those days?
Well, those were quiet days in India, as I recall. You were very busy. And I had come over with my daughter, Phylicia, who was quite young at the time. And it seems to me maybe that was during the eye camps.
Yes.
Yes. And that was a very, very special time with sight-restoring surgery being performed for free for villagers and people walking away so happy because they could see their grandchildren for the first time.
Yeah, it was quite remarkable.
It was quite remarkable. Yeah, I remember that. And I remember my daughter, I think she was 5 years old at the time. And she went to the pre-screening camps where they were determining who needed the surgery and who could really have it, who could handle it. And she was one of the volunteers passing out water to the people standing in line. And she said to me, "When I grow up, I want to live in India." I said, "Really?" She said, "Yes, because in India, I am free." And I thought about that and I thought, what does she mean? She found so much freedom in being of service to people. A little child articulating like that, as you know, as a parent, children often do, without filters and things that are built in because of whatever. She felt so much freedom in being able to be of service to people.
That's very profound. We had a guest here several months ago who talked about giving. And that more than the calf needs to drink, the cow needs to give the milk. It's like we have an inborn need to give. And Phylicia Condola was tuning into that at that time. And I remember you were on the board of the PRASAD Project and have been for decades.
Yeah, for a little while. It was just kind of getting started then. And it was very important to be there. It was just important to be there and to see the people who were receiving this gift of sight again.
People who were blinded because of cataracts?
Yeah, and that was a dietary issue. Because you look at what the diet is there's not a lot of green vegetables, So you have a deficiency, which leads to cataract.
And it was a relatively easy solution. People went in for these surgeries, these eye camps, thousands of people in over several days and who have been blind for decades, all of a sudden were able to see. And it was incredibly moving to be part of that.
It was, and it had such an impact on families and communities. Because in that area of the world, if there's one person in the family who cannot see, it impacts the entire family because it means that a couple of people are not going to be able to work, and everybody has to work. Even the children have to do something to bring in some income, to bring something in to sustain the family. So it had tremendous effects on the families there and the communities. It was beautiful to be a part of that.
Right, and for the people who had the cataracts, they felt useless. All of a sudden, They felt like they had a purpose.
Yes. I mean, it's so wonderful when you really give from the heart.
Yeah, and make a real impact on someone's life.
And make a real impact on someone's life by giving somebody that which is of need and value.
So one of the very, very first things I did as a lawyer was help create the PRASAD Project, the organization, the not-for-profit organization, international not-for-profit organization that carried out these eye surgeries. And of course, the PRASAD Project did much more. It was really about sustainability for people, where the crops, if I remember, everything was rice, and it depleted the land.
Yes.
And it wasn't very valuable. And one of the things that we did through the PRASAD Project was to teach the villagers how to plant different crops and help provide some of the seed funding for that and the seeds. So then it became bananas and papaya, and then the land became very lush.
Yes.
And generated all this income.
There was that. And in Sullivan County, the PRASAD Project has the Children's Dental Health Children's Dental Health Program. That's here. There's PRASAD de Mexico, where sight restoring surgery is being performed in Mexico. The PRASAD Project continues its great work through PRASAD Chikitsa in India. You did a good thing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm still the lawyer. I still do all the trademark work to protect the brand globally and to help with the work. And it's really the whole thing with the dental. You mentioned dental. People take going to the dentist for granted. The number one reason why school children miss school is because of dental reasons, and it has an impact that you wouldn't realize how significant it is.
And it doesn't have to be. So you did a good thing.
Yeah, well, you too. You too. So Phylicia, I want to bring us back to the beginning, sort of the beginning of our relationship. Okay. I left India. I went to law school. I became a lawyer at a big firm in 1991. And in 1995, I was in a small firm, and you called me and said, Arnie, I need a new lawyer. My lawyer went in-house to Sony. Can we have lunch? And I'll tell you my recollection, and you tell me yours. And I was so excited to have lunch with you. And we sat down in Manhattan. Yeah. And I said, Phylicia, I want you to know I know nothing about entertainment law, but I will find you the best lawyer.
And I said, you're the best lawyer.
And right there, you hired me with no experience of entertainment law. And you said, I know you'll figure it out. I need someone I can trust.
It's so important to be able to trust people who represent you. You could have the most famous whatever. But if you can't trust that person, what good is it? But if you have someone who's honest, who's earnest, who's sincere, and that's you, everything's going to be all right. And it has been all right. I mean, I just didn't want anybody else. I just knew this is an intelligent person. This is a person with standards. This is a person with morals. This is a person I want.
That's so great. Well, I came back from that lunch, and in those days, this is before the internet, they had things called books and law books, and I literally spent 72 hours nonstop studying all these treatises on entertainment law, and right away we had some commercial endorsement deals. That was the first commercial endorsement deals I did, and very soon thereafter it was Cosby too. Yeah. And we had to negotiate that deal for your second experience with Cosby, and that was really exciting and interesting. And
it was good. It was good. And I remember my agents, because, people do what they know to do. And of course, there were people they would recommend, and I don't know that person. I know this person. And they were so taken with your work. They said, he's really good. I said, yeah, I know.
That's sweet.
I know.
That's sweet. So not only did you trust me with your own legal work, you also, your mom had a beautiful not-for-profit. Your mom, who, of course, very dear to both of us in a whole different capacity. And she had created this incredible not-for-profit that you then had me help with, and then we created a second one called the Brainerd Institute.
Brainerd
Heritage Institute.
Brainerd Institute Heritage. Yes, and that's going very well.
It's an incredible organization. If I remember, this was the school that your mom attended, and it was created after the Civil War for girls.
No, for girls and boys.
Girls and boys.
This was for the descendants of freed African people. This was one of a number of schools that were created by the Presbytery throughout the South. And it was in Chester, South Carolina. And let me get this right. It's set on 14 acres of land with 12 all-brick buildings, a chemistry lab, a tennis court. And very simple and humble people attended this school. It was across the street from my mother's birthplace. Her parents had attended this school. Her grandparents had attended this school. It had a very special place in our family as well as other families in the area. And today we have preschool literacy programs that are just out of sight. We presented the Claflin University Choir. We've had Juneteenth celebration, Gullah Festival, with people from St. Helena Island, artists, singers, storytellers. What else have we had? Oh, we've had a lot. We had Mama's centennial birthday celebration there. We had a South Carolina, what do we call it? The South Carolina Folk Poetry Fest.
Wow.
In honor of her 100th birthday. And she was in California. So we had our computers up so she could see us. And people came, just the people in the area. Everyone was invited to come and present their poetry. It was a big deal. So many people came.
It was so beautiful. And just a little bit of the backstory, I believe the school closed around 1920.
No, later than that. It was, my mother was born in 20.
Oh, so after she was like the last class.
It was like 1930. It was in the 1930s, 37, something like that.
So the school closed down and it fell into disrepair. And you called me one day and said, I need your help.
Yeah.
That they're about to sell it off for condos.
Yeah.
And you wanted to buy it and donate it as to a not-for-profit for the benefit of Historical Society for the people of South Carolina.
Yep.
And for African American heritage in general, but people couldn't know that you were behind it.
That's right.
So I had to be the front of that, and we created this not-for-profit very quickly. We were able to acquire the property, and then you helped restore it, and it's really a hugely important place, historical place.
It is culturally right now. It really is, and it's growing.
And it's making it. It's not just historical because children
Today,
are learning, growing literacy.
And teachers are enjoying it too, because when the teachers come, it's open. So Mama had a 501c3, the Adept.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, the Adept Center. And Mama was on the, Mama, let me tell you her name, Vivian Ayers. She would get upset. You better say my name. Published poet, by the way. She was on the advisory council to the National Endowment for the Arts. And it was in working with the National Endowment for the Arts that she learned everything there was to know about arts administration. She was very serious about this. And she began, she had already begun her gallery, the Adept Gallery, in Houston at the time. And she started a program called Workshops in Open Fields.
All right.
That was the first. Workshops in Open Fields evolved because she saw these children running around in the summertime with nothing to do. And in Houston at that time, there were open fields, even in residential areas. So she congressed with 11 arts instructors. And they would meet and they'd talk and they decided they'd go out in the field and each artist would do what each artist did best. And she'd go around getting these children and bringing them in, and they could move from station to station. And it became Nancy Hanks, who was then the director of the National Endowment for the Arts, designated it as a model grassroots arts education program. And the endowment funded it for 9 years, funded the workshops for open fields for 9 years.
Now, was this happening when you were a child, when you were growing up?
No, I was in New York.
You were in New York by then.
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up? I mean, your mom created some very creative, successful children between you and Debbie.
Yeah. Well, we were growing up. It was really quite something. She'd call us all in from play. Not just us, but our friends too. She'd call us all into the house, and she'd teach us how to read music and how to play the piano. And my first lesson in fractions was a music lesson that my mother gave us. She was going to teach us note value. She said 4/4 measure. In 4/4 time, there are 4 beats to a measure. And she showed us what a quarter note looked like. She said, and this gets 4 beats. But let's go back to the beginning. She showed us what a whole note looked like, what it looked like on the manuscript paper. She took a candied Easter egg, and she said, this is a whole note. It will get 4 beats. She divided it in half. Now, she said, these are 2 half notes. Each will get 2 beats. She proceeded to divide that candied Easter egg into 16 parts. And I didn't realize it. I was 5 years old at the time. That was my first lesson in fractions. So when we got to fractions in the 3rd grade, I wasn't afraid of it. It wasn't weird at all. I understood the concept because she had given us that lesson that day.
Wow. So what's interesting for me is that how she was as a mother, and I know your father too had a big influence in parenting with so much attention and so much love. And then she noticed for other children who didn't have that, and then created the workshops and open fields and the Brainerd Institute and everything to expand her influence just well beyond her immediate circle.
She believed in people. Her book, Hawk, her second publication, that was reprinted for her 100th birthday through Clemson University Press.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. The peer review read like a love letter. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's there. You can get it on Barnes & Nobles, I think, and Amazon and Clemson University Press. Well, this book is about freedom. It's a long-form poem, an allegory to freedom, which uses space, flight through space as a metaphor, flight through space without a vehicle.
Wow.
So it's an inner journey, right? She wrote things, this is an inner journey, going to the sun, the light,
Wow.
wanting to experience one's own self in a real way. It's such a beautiful book. I treasure this, grew up with it. She described these scenes, in the flight through space. And years later, when the astronauts actually did go, they said things that corroborated, that matched what she had written.
Wow.
This book was published and released 11 weeks before the flight of Sputnik 1. All right?
She was the original Houston Mission Control.
That's what she said.
That's what she said?
That's what she would say later on. NASA actually photographed pages from her book, enlarged them, and hung them in Space Hall to exhibit in the month of February. She was honored there, and she received a designation as she was included in the Women of Apollo because of her work with NASA. She worked at NASA too,
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she worked at NASA. She was the cultural liaison to the city of Houston. And also she led that cadre of secretaries who edited the Gemini Space Manual. Mama did that.
Wow. So she held her own here with the two of you. She probably had to remind her kids that she was no pushover.
Oh, she was the one. She said, don't introduce her mother. I have a name. Yes, Mama.
That's what you said at the beginning.
You have a name. That's right, Mama, you do.
Phylicia, you said something very important a few minutes ago. We're here at the Holocaust Memorial Tolerance Center. You and I walked through. We saw scenes of genocide from Africa. Then we saw scenes of genocide, of course, during the Holocaust. Then we saw the children's, and you were very moved, and you were just so baffled of trying to just comprehend it. You said that, and then you just said something about a journey to yourself. And a big part of Habits of a Whole Heart is that when there's an inner fracture, it creates the foundation that allows people to commit such unspeakable crimes. Of course, there's many steps along the way. And your mom had this real sense of wholeness within herself, which allowed her to give. And of course, you have that same thing. So what was it that you were searching for in India? What do you see as like a spiritual path and the role of stillness, which I know is something we've talked about?
Yes, yes. My mother introduced me to this as a young girl. She met a professor of physics who was from India. And, they would exchange ideas, and he talked to her about Indian philosophy, And Mommy was a scholar, so she was very interested in always. Mother said in her whole life there was only one thing that she was afraid of, and that was ignorance. That was the only thing my mother feared in life, was ignorance. And she did not want to be that. So she would read many different things, And so she introduced us as children to the practice of stillness. In Houston, Texas, that was not an easy thing with the three of us. We had to, I'll never forget it. She said, now we're going to sit quietly for 1 hour. That's what she said. And we had to sit and be still and be quiet for 1 hour.
How'd that work out?
Well, I was looking at the clock. But later on in life, it's amazing when you plant a seed with a child, whatever that seed is, it's going to bear fruit. It's going to blossom. So much later in life, I became interested in stillness through the practice of meditation, in finding that, wanting to know what that was. One day I became very curious about it. But now when I look back, I see that curiosity was always there, as I was a little girl and would look up at the night sky and wonder about, what is this, and where does it come from, and when did it start, and what am I in it, and what is it I'm supposed to do? Children have these thoughts. This is very natural for a human being to have such thoughts when they're not laden with other things.
And distracted.
Yeah, distracted, if you have, and that's what our mother created for us as children. She created that safety, that space for us to have inquiry, curiosity. Yeah, she did that.
In today's day, I want to just push this for our last question of this episode before we go into the second episode.
Yeah.
Is that we're living in an era of so much need. There's a million things to do. Who has time for stillness? And what has it given you amidst the incredible busyness of your life right now? Like, what do people get from being still?
I just talked about this to a graduating class at Oakwood University. In the stillness, there's access to a space within your own self. It's a space of silence from which emerges inspiration, creativity, and a real, tangible sense of wholeness. wholeness. And in this space, you perceive, and notice my choice of words. I'm not talking about just feeling. You actually perceive your connection to everything. It happens in stillness. It's wonderful. Who has time for it? Who doesn't have time for it? You have to create this time for yourself. You owe it to yourself. As human beings, we are endowed with the most incredible gifts. We're born with the most incredible gifts inside ourselves. But we can't access the truth of that looking outside all the time. We can't access the truth of that if we never look inside ourselves. You can't access it chasing after success, chasing after belongings, chasing after people, chasing after situations, circumstances. You can't access. But this space exists for us all. It's our birthright. And it's, when you think about it, what is a human being's foremost duty if not to know the truth within one's own self?
It's beautiful. I've been 52 episodes. As you know, this name of this podcast is Habits of a Whole Heart. What is wholeness? You just talked about wholeness, the stillness. It gives you agency, gives you power, and it gives you yourself back and allows you to be connected and to manifest your highest self. It's a beautiful way you said it. Thank you so much for being here with me for episode number 1. I'm really looking forward to episode number 2. Please stay tuned for our second episode, Phylicia Rashad, as we turn to legacy and how to make other people great leaders and shine, and more very spontaneous topics that will come up. Phylicia, thank you so much for your friendship, for being here, and for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. My name again is Arnie Herz. This is Habits of a Whole Heart as part of the Humanity Matters podcast series on hmTv. Thank you very much and have a great day.